partnership, there is increased possibility of achieving more to benefit not just the individual, but our entire community. We can secure the best future for Jamaica by being a team player and contributing to the plan for growth and development. Hello and welcome. I'm Arroyo Eubanks. Thanks for making it Jamaica Magazine. On today's page is a participatory approach to improving unplanned settlements for sustainable development, plus opportunities to do business, create jobs, and generate income through an expanding business process outsourcing BPO industry. Later, I look at some old-time sinting that helped to shape Jamaica today. And we have our top news stories of the week. So sit back and relax for these and more as Jamaica Magazine unfolds.
What are you doing to help the fight against crime?
Sitting on the corner, minding your own business, definitely not going to work.
It is time for us to unite.
Unite.
Unite for change.
Citizens coming together to make their respective communities safer. The police, schools, public health, business, churches, NGOs, parents and neighborhood watch volunteers.
As we, the police, do our job,
We as citizens need to do our part as well.
Report crimes or even suspicious activities.
Let's all work together.
As one united front against crime.
And make Jamaica the place of choice to
Live, work, raise families, and do business.
Unite for Change, an initiative of the Ministry of National Security.
Government is in a partnership with key stakeholders to strengthen the collaborative and institutional framework to address the housing and living conditions of residents in informal settlements. It's building the capacity of all the participants to be integrally involved in sustainable development. More in this feature.
Our draft national housing policy has as its main objective to provide adequate housing, adequate, affordable and legal housing to all Jamaicans.
Society's ideal is to have communities with quality homes, proper social and economic infrastructure, and systems to support a good life for its citizens. Over the years, as people seek this ideal, many have migrated from their rural communities to urban centers. This movement of people is often done informally, leading to the establishment of unplanned or squatter settlements that aren't equipped with the necessary infrastructure to support quality living. As the problem expands, solutions have to be found to correct what has started wrong and prevent more of the same in the future.
A long time coming, but I know a change won't come. Oh, yes it will.
With informal settlements come challenges like inadequate access to water, roads, and sanitation, limited space, no legal ownership, and housing that are not durable due to the material used or location. In response to the Jamaican reality, government has framed a new urban development agenda and is moving to amplify corrective measures in these unplanned settlements. That work is currently being supported by the United Nations Participatory Slum Upgrading Program, PSUP.
The goals of the program correspond with the government's mandate, which is to increase the economic and social welfare of the populace and aid in capacity building.
Phase 2 of the UN's Participatory Slum Upgrading Program was launched on February 20, 2015. It targets 3 urban areas where there are small, medium, and large squatter settlements: Old Harbour Bay in St. Catherine, Maypen in Clarendon, and Montego Bay in St. James. 13 communities and thousands of Jamaicans will benefit initially. PSUP2 will bring together all development partners and strengthen the governance and management capacities of local, central, and regional institutions to improve these settlements. The work also seeks to establish and entrench regulations and policies for upgrading squatter settlements.
We are supposed to be preparing a city-wide slum situational analysis. This is where we go into the different communities. We look at what is on the ground, we'll identify the gaps, we'll find the data on the communities in terms of housing, in terms of access to basic services, in terms of security, in terms of the governance framework, and we find the gaps and we make recommendations. Paramount is the building of the capacity of the persons at the community level. So the methodology that is used to get the communities involved is called participatory action planning.
Citizens are called upon to commit their time, skills, and to be integral in the decision-making process. Among their duties are to identify the challenges they face and determine what actions should be taken.
So it's not a top-down decision-making process, it's a bottom-up decision-making process, because you want to build the capacity of the persons in the communities. You want them to own the outcome of the project.
There is also a component for resource mobilization.
We have so many projects and programs that are being implemented across the country that are addressing basically maybe some of the same challenges. The program is seeking to leverage all of these resources, see how you can leverage these resources to make the impact of what is being done more meaningful, and also allowing for there to be some form of scaling up of some of these projects that will emanate from the process.
UN Habitat has provided $125,000 to undertake the work under Phase 2 of the Participatory Slum Upgrading Program. It's set to end in September 2015, but before that, implementers will focus on action planning and development of program documents ahead of Phase 3, when physical projects will be done. To avoid having developments done in isolation, resources are drawn from different ministries, departments, and agencies of government.
In terms of the management of the process, there is a national steering committee that has been established, and this is coordinated and managed by the Ministry of Transport Works and Housing.
The program is the outcome of a tripartite arrangement between UN Habitat, the European Union Commission, and the African, Caribbean, and Pacific ACP countries. Jamaica is among 5 countries in the Caribbean where the program is being implemented. The results will act as a blueprint for the management of the over 700 squatter settlements across Jamaica.
And as Minister with responsibility for housing, my remit is about the development of land to respond to the security of tenure of every Jamaican. Development in this instance means improved access to clean drinking water, adequate sanitation, upgrading of roadways, physical infrastructure, cleaning of drains and channels, as well as capacity building.
The Participatory Slum Upgrading Program, working with local authorities to secure social amenities and access to basic services, improving human settlement, and helping Jamaica to achieve the goals of the Vision 2030 National Development Plan.
I feel nice, like sugar and spice.
A healthy and educated people living in a clean, natural environment, reducing crime, improving the justice system and governance, building a prosperous economy. It's not just a vision, it's reality. Learn about the plan. Join the vision.
My country, Jamaica, has a rich heritage and is very unique. If we all pull together, we can make it the place of choice to live, work, raise family, and to do business.
For more information on Vision 2030, call the Planning Institute of Jamaica or visit vision2030.gov.jm, your parish library, school library, or the Jamaica Information Service.
Business process outsourcing, BPO, is a growing aspect of the Jamaican business landscape, where large firms generally based overseas outsource or contract parts of their work to be done by companies locally. This kind of business arrangement is improving the economic climate for business expansion, employment, and wealth creation through the services, manufacturing, and other industries. Take a look.
When the government speaks of job creation, an industry that should readily come to mind is business process outsourcing, BPO. This thriving sector is experiencing double-digit growth and, according to JAMPRO, could create 15,000 new jobs within the next 5 years. So government has been using BPO as a conduit for achieving the strategic priority of job creation and economic growth with positive results. Business process outsourcing, or BPO, involves engaging a third-party service provider to do specific business functions. This means companies overseas can hire local entities to handle certain aspects of their business, such as customer service call centers. Other functions include general office operations like accounting and human resource management. Jamaica has a competitive edge in this sector due to its geographic location, the ability of nationals to speak English, and the educational qualifications of citizens. Within the past few years, government has been capitalizing on this to formalize the sector. The main point of support comes from the Ministries of Technology, Industry and Education, collaborating with the private sector representative group, the Business Process Industry Association of Jamaica, BPIAJ. Members of the BPO industry benefit from several incentives under the free zone regime, including income tax relief on profit earnings and duty-free importation of machinery and tools used in their operations, such as computers. There is also direct monetary support, such as the Development Bank of Jamaica's commitment of $23 million in loan to the ICT and BPO sectors this fiscal year. All these interventions have supported the current environment of about 40 BPO companies operating in Jamaica. These entities account for approximately 14,000 jobs, but government's goal is to add hundreds more as part of the strategic priority for economic growth. In October 2014, a $195,000 contract was signed to roll out new business process outsourcing BPO facilities in Montego Bay. A month prior to that, $6 million was invested in the construction of a BPO facility in Portmore, St. Catherine. Both of these private sector-driven developments represent the latest result of government-supportive policies to encourage an expanded BPO sector in Jamaica.
The commitment is there from the government in all the areas that needs to be addressed as we move forward to ensure that the sector not only remain alive but thrive and is sustainable going forward.
As evidenced by the Mobay and Portmore developments, government is well on its way to achieving its BPO goals. The contract between the BPIAJ and Columbus Business Solutions means the creation of an incubator for business operators who wish to operate from the Montego Bay Free Zone. The incubator, which is slated to become fully operational by December 2014, is designed to fast-track the entry of new BPO companies, providing hundreds of jobs. As for the 40,000 square foot BPO facility in Portmore, it's expected to provide thousands of jobs during the construction phase, while another 550 persons are estimated to be employed during the startup phase.
Space has been our major failing, and the space is not going to be provided by the government. My view is that you can create 3 million square feet of office space tomorrow and they will be filled, but it requires from entrepreneurs that element of risk.
Jamaica and the business process outsourcing sector, a partnership that's poised to make the island the outsourcing hub of the Caribbean, a partnership that supports government's strategic priority for job creation and economic growth.
Sports is supposed to be an integrative force in assuring good values and strong character building. Sports generally, and champs in particular, is not about winning, it's about competition, it's about cooperation.
We can use the knowledge of our past to shape the future. And as the old saying goes, we need to know where we're coming from in order to know where we're going. To follow on that note, we'll now take a glance at some interesting old-time sinting.
A medley of folk songs, Jamaican treats for the sweet tooth, and household items of yesteryear. This week out in St. Thomas, taking in Jamaica's rich culture at Sankofa Preparatory and Learning Center. Sankofa Prep, as it's more commonly known, is a small institution located in the Eastern Parish. Its name, Sankofa, is Akan and stands for learning from the past in order to move forward. With such a profound name, the school makes it a priority to enrich the cultural landscape in St. Thomas with its yearly February production.
Broke them one by one, broke them two by two, finger mash no cry.
Old Time Sinting is a cultural event. Every day before Ash Wednesday, we take artifacts and educate the students about them, like your old self-eating iron, your old-time things from enamel and stuff like that. And then we have traditional foods all day, traditional songs, dance. We immerse the children in their culture that day in a very practical way. It's very important. A lot of these things children have no idea about. Their parents are young, they don't have the memory.
From day to night, the students, their parents and community members were taken back in time through a cultural explosion of Jamaican life in the good old days.
My name is Brianna Rowe and I'm going to be your tour guide. Today we're displaying some things that we used to use in the old time days. This is an enamel teapot.
A far difference from the modern version.
This is an ice shaver.
Some companies still use this particular ice shaver, but it's been replaced in the home with ice picks and even an ice maker.
This is a floor brush. It's used to polish your floor or shine your floor.
Even the floor polish is outdated as ceramic tiles are erasing its use.
This is an ice tray. You set your ice in it.
So different from this, isn't it? Not to mention these enamel chamber pots and chimney, cooking outdoor on wood fire, and these designs, may we call them, of yesteryear, the days of Jamaica gone by. The entertainment package was also synonymous with the theme. Kumina and ring games reigned.
Whole heap of memories. I mean, I'm waiting for my chocolate tea right now. Our children need to know where they're coming from, where they're at now, where they're going. It's imperative because we're losing our children.
I think the event is very, in my mind, it stands out. It's very exceptional what Sankofa Preparatory is doing for the students and the community at large. It brings us back to our roots and our culture, which most of us have neglected.
I grew up using those things, yes. My mother, grandmother, and everybody grew up using those things. So it was really memorable.
It seems the mission of old-time sinting was fulfilled as the children learned of their past in a fun way.
The dancing and the song singing and the listening to music, the long-time music.
The singing and dancing.
Oh, pirate, yes, they ride by. So like to the merchant ship. Minutes after they took high from the bottomless pit.
Come on, Sankofa. Come on, Sankofa. Come on, Sankofa. Come on, Sankofa.
Old time something come back again. Go round the bend, go tell your friend.
Our top stories making this week's news are next.
Hi there, I'm Simone Wolf with your JIS News of the Week. Finance Minister Dr. Peter Phillips opened the budget debate Thursday afternoon and announced that while there was a budget gap of $22 billion, government would only seek $10.4 billion of that amount from taxes.
Tax compliance efforts are expected to provide $12.3 billion.
Measures to earn the remaining $10.4 billion include an increase to the special consumption tax on cigarettes, GCT on residential electricity usage above 350 kilowatt hours, and expanding the 0.5% environmental levy on imported goods to domestic sales, with some exceptions. Several outdated trade and business license fees will also be rationalized, and government will increase the specific SCT rates on petrol to ensure against the prospect of further sharp increases to international oil prices and the potential negative consequences for Jamaica's economy.
We propose to hedge 50% of our oil consumption. What I'm saying here does not affect the electricity component.
$1.8 billion, meanwhile, is to be earned by replacing the 1% petroleum cess paid by Petrojam to the Petroleum Corporation of Jamaica with a specific SCT of $2 per litre. Minimal revenue will come from other measures designed to improve tax compliance, while the income tax threshold is to be further increased to $592,800 per annum, effective January 1, 2016, allowing workers to take home more of their pay. During a JIS TV special panel discussion on the Finance Minister's budget presentation, the Private Sector Organization of Jamaica gave the Finance Minister high marks for the growth-inducing strategy he unveiled. Dennis Strong said the government remained on the right track, and he lauded the administration for strategies such as the newly announced hedge fund program, which will act as insurance, protecting the country from potential shock from any spike in oil prices.
We are in full support of the hedging.
In full support of that? PSOJ.
Right, the president of PSOJ has come out and said he's in full support of that, and we think that this is a good place at which to try and hold a reasonable price. So, we'll wait on the details of that, but we're in support of the principle.
Meanwhile, during his presentation, the Finance Minister also announced that the Development Bank of Jamaica had exceeded its targeted $3 billion loan commitment to micro, small and medium enterprises for the current fiscal year by $300 million. And for the 2015-2016 fiscal year, DBJ has committed to lend $4 billion to MSMEs. Its loan guarantee program is also being amended to increase the loan guarantees for small and medium enterprises. Dr. Phillips also announced that 8 local and international fund managers had responded to the DBJ's call to submit proposals for venture capital funding.
The DBJ and some investors are now doing due diligence on 6 of the fund managers, and it is expected that in the course of the 15-16 fiscal year, 1 or 2 fund managers will be actively operating.
Ahead of the budget debate, the Finance Minister signed for an $8.6 billion development policy loan from the World Bank for the first competitiveness and fiscal management policy loan project. It's designed to enhance Jamaica's competitiveness and improve fiscal management in the public sector.
It is focused on a number of critical objectives, including the facilitation of economic growth and the promotion of economic growth, the increase in job creation, poverty reduction, and improvement of living standards generally for the country.
It is part of a larger program of financial assistance with the World Bank, valued at approximately $58.9 billion. During this week's hosting of the 2015 Jamaica Investment Forum, Industry Minister Anthony Hilton announced that a memorandum of understanding would be signed with a foreign investor next week to invest $5 billion in Jamaica's Logistics Hub initiative.
It's a consortium of Austrian and American persons and investors and developers. The MOU will be signed next week. We are in the throes of finalizing the arrangements. The investors will be here shortly, and we'll then finalize everything, but I'm confident that we'll be able to sign the MOU next week.
The industry minister says the MOU will facilitate a series of infrastructure projects and will transform the business landscape for logistics and position the country for increased investments. It will bring total investments in the logistics hub initiative to $6.5 billion, more than half the $10 billion target. And finally, the Education Ministry told JIS News this week that all was in place for this year's Grade 6 Achievement Test, GSAT. 38,407 students will take the test at 1,112 centers across the island on Thursday, March 19 and Friday, March 20.
All timetables have already been dispatched to the students, and we are satisfied that the timetables represent the correct information for each student. Secured examination packages will be sent to the 6 regional offices, which will then be dispatched to principals and presiding examiners of schools prior to the examinations.
And those were some of the stories making news this week. I'm Simone Wolf.
Each time you're not paying full attention to the road environment, the greater your chances of getting in a crash like that. Plan routes to avoid focusing on GPS systems, prevent children from roaming in motor vehicles, turn down the volume of car stereo systems, pull off the roadway if you have to use mobile devices, do not read, watch television or eat while driving, avoid multitasking, and keep conversations with other passengers to a minimum. Whether you walk, ride or drive, avoid potentially fatal distractions.
This is where we close Jamaica Magazine for today. Be sure to join us when we return tomorrow with another interesting edition. We want you to keep the link. In the meantime, hit us up on Twitter at JIS News and visit us on our website, jis.gov.jm, for the very latest government information. You can also send an email to Jamaica Magazine at jis.gov.jm. I'm Arroyo Eubanks. Until we meet again, take care.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.